Hey guys, it is Michelle Hyde here from michellehydeonline.com. Thank you so much for joining in. This is episode 26. So, our topic today is the God just wants you to be happy lie. First of all, I want to say if you are like me and you get impatient with long videos, feel free to, I think it's on this side. There's like a little gear button and you can press it and change the replay speed to speed it up if you would like. I usually do that with videos. But getting right into our topic today, I, growing up, always craved seeking happiness. That was like my idol, if you will, because I put so much above everything else. So if I wasn't happy, I felt like my life was awful, basically. Now, you might have heard different verses about in the presence of the Lord is fullness of joy. And, I've talked about that before and sort of recently, actually. But that's not the same as happiness. And I hear people all the time say, God just wants you to be happy. And that's just not true. He wants to care for you. He loves you. He does only what's best for you. But sometimes that isn't happy feelings. It's not you get what you want. You get to do what you want. You're having a fun time kind of thing. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this, other than hearing that, lie quoted often, is because I've been talking about different hardships that I've faced. Like, for example, just feeling hurt by some things and some stress over some things and just hurt. And so much so that I have wanted to not be here anymore. Not in the sense of taking care of it myself, so to speak, but sort of that, God, if you could just have me pass my sleep or something so I wake up in heaven and never have to feel hurt again, never have to feel pain, never have to cry, never have to feel slighted by anyone or betrayal or anything ever again. And that I feel too weak to go through pain. And just feeling that sort of feeling. And so you, as someone reading my weekly blog or watching my weekly videos here on YouTube, you might be tempted to think she is not experiencing God's presence. She is not happy. Why would I want to be a Christian or follow God if I'm going to be that miserable? So I kind of wanted to address that, going alongside that quote I hear all the time, like, God just wants you to be happy. So here I am talking about it. Now, there is a difference between joy and happiness. Joy is this lasting understanding that even though my consequences are not happy right now, that I understand, one, I'm going to heaven someday. And no matter how broken this world may seem, no matter how much pain may come into our lives, we have heaven as the end goal. Like that is coming. That's a sure thing. If you've trusted that Jesus died and rose again to pay for your sin, and you've trusted in Jesus's work on the cross, you can expect heaven. You don't have to worry about your future. You don't have to worry about how things are going to turn out. And that gives joy because you're like, no matter what I'm facing right now, the end is heaven. And the other reason that we can have joy is because we can understand that come what may, no matter how hard things may get, no matter how much the struggle may be hurting us, that it's never going to have the final say. God 100% always is in control, full, absolute control. no matter what we're facing, no matter how hard it may be for us. I mean, you think of the disciples in the boat when the storm was like almost flooding the boat and they felt like they were sinking and they were like freaking out. That's not happy, right? When you're fearing for your very life. But then when they woke Jesus, like, what are you doing? Why are you sleeping when we're like gonna die? And Jesus was like, oh, you have little faith. When are you gonna get it? You know? Because he just said, be still. And the waves stilled, the storm stopped. And they were like, who is this that even the winds and the waves obey him? God is still in absolute control. That's why Jesus was able to just sleep when all this crazy was going on. He wasn't worried. He knew that all they had to do was call out to him and they would be rescued because he had the power to do anything. But sometimes he doesn't stop the pain right away. You see Job, how he lost and he lost and he lost things that he loved, things that mattered to him, all that he had worked for. And then on top of that, he was basically accused by his closest friends who came to comfort him. The pain didn't stop right away. It kept going, relentless. And even though he was crying out to God, God didn't just tie it up with a pretty bow and have it finish. He let him sit in that suffering. And then you hear verses about how we ought to rejoice in our struggles and our trials and all of that because it builds character. It grows us. And I think of how many times I've been afraid of things in my life, like car issues or health issues or whatever. And God let me face it. And it was scary and hard or frustrating or whatever. But then I saw him work through it. And I saw how he provided in a way that I could not provide. And it grew, it strengthened my faith in him, where I was like, I don't really need to worry about that anymore. It may be difficult, but God will help me. So no matter what hard comes in our life, it's for our good, 100% of the time, and for his glory, 100% of the time. He wants us to see that we can get in the worst imaginable situations. We can feel like, okay, this is the point where there's absolutely no hope. There's no way God could turn this to good. It's just misery and despair and whatnot. And then we see how it all fit together. And we're humbled. Usually there are moments where I just find myself choked up crying because I'm like, this whole time I've seen no possible way this could end up well. And yet you. And what an encouragement to go through those times where all your crutches, all your security blankets, everything in your life is just stripped away. And you feel like there's no way there's any hope in this situation. And then years later, we look back and we're like, you were still good. I didn't see it. I had no clue, but you are still good. And I see it now. And that is one of the biggest reasons that I can still have joy, still have hope, even though I'm suffering. So if you hear me talking about suffering, if you hear me talking about my struggling and just feeling like I can't do this, it's too hard, I don't want to do this anymore, I hate it, know that it's not a defeated situation. It is a chapter in my life. It is a hard chapter when those things happen. But it's not the end of the story. And God cares so much more for us than to just keep us numb and happy all the time. He wants more for us than that. Like I mentioned, he wants us to have that kind of confidence in him, where no matter what goes wrong, we can see he has a plan. He has a solution. We don't see it yet, We don't enjoy the process, but we know He's got us. And He wants us to remember that this world, this life is not the end all be all, that we have eternity rejoicing, praising Him in heaven, where we will never have another tear. We will never be sad or hurt ever again, because in His presence is fullness of joy. And when we're physically, literally in His presence, we won't be able to feel anything else. His glory will be magnified to us. I think of the song I Can Only Imagine, where He's like, am I gonna stay in your presence? Am I gonna fall on my face? Who knows how we're gonna respond to being in His presence, in His glory, where we'll never feel pain ever again. And I think it's Paul, how he talks about how he would much rather check out and just be in heaven with God. But he says, except for you. He understands that we cannot die until God says it's time to go home. That's not possible. And so if we're still here, He has a plan for our life. He wants to use our life. He wants to teach us more about Himself, grow our confidence in Him. So I don't want you to get hung up on that little, God just wants you to be happy. No. He tells us no. He tells us no for a reason, because He knows what's better for us. Sometimes He says no because He knows that what we want will end up hurting us. Sometimes He lets us go through the hard things instead of making it easy, because He wants to grow our trust in Him, further our peace and our confidence in Him. Sometimes He prunes good things out of our life. I've shared this before about how God is the vine dresser. We're the branches. Jesus is the vine that we draw our nourishment from, abiding in Him. And I always pictured that as God pruning out the bad things in our life. Bad habits, bad thought patterns, misunderstanding His word, or anything like that, negative things that are not good for us, pruning them out of our lives. But then you see things like someone you love dying, or other hard things being faced. Those were not bad things that He's taking away. They were good things. But they're things that God can use to further the testimony of His grace and His mercy, His comfort and counsel in hard situations. And you must realize that God knows the heart. Past, present, future, He knows. And so if someone is not saved and He lets them pass, it's because He knows they would never accept Him. If He lets someone who has surrendered their life to Jesus, He knows they're going to heaven, the best place they could ever want to be. And even if we miss them, that God can use that to draw our hearts to recognize our need of Him. It can draw people to Him. I had a friend in Japan who he was taking over an apple orchard of his father-in-law, who was wanting to retire. And he was learning so many things. And he said the interesting thing is, when you're, I guess it's called pruning, an apple tree, you have to cut so much more off than you would think. You would think, these all look like great apples. Some of these are not so great. Let's take those off. No. He said if you want the best apples, you have to remove almost all of them from the branch. Because when you have several apples, the nutrients is all being stretched thinner because it's going to all the different apples on the branch. But if you just have one, maybe two, I don't even know if they allowed two, it might have just been one, then the nutrients is spread less thin. And these apples become rich in flavor and nutrients, sweeter. They become the best possible apples. So you're not just taking away the bad apples, you're taking away good apples. Because God knows that we can get distracted. We can think, well, this is what I want to do, so I'm not going to give this up because, I can honor God through this, and I can, and God takes it away because he's like, you're putting too much focus on this when this is the direction I need you to go. He takes things away that are good to help guide us to what is better for us. No, God is not simply looking out for your happiness. He is looking out for your ultimate good, peace, confidence, knowing he's in control, knowing he has a better plan, knowing he knows better for you than you could ever understand for yourself. That we can trust him so much more, infinitely more, than we can trust our desire to be happy. So yes, I have had great seasons of struggle in the last few months, but I don't see it as I just want to be happy. And God's not letting me be happy. I see it as, God, I don't like this. This hurts so much. But you see the final scene. You see the picture you're painting. You see the final chapter. You see how this all wraps up, how it works for my good, how it serves to glorify you. I don't see that right now, and it hurts, and I hate struggling. But I love knowing that he has got me. It doesn't have to lead to my despair or giving up. It's just a hard chapter in the beautiful story he's writing through my life. And if it serves as a testimony through my website, my weekly blog, my weekly live stream, if it serves as an arrow pointing to the grace of God through Jesus, it was worth it to struggle. I don't like struggling. Just like Paul, I long for heaven. But I understand there's a greater purpose in this life than for me to just feel happy. And I take joy in that. And I know where I'm going someday. I don't have to fear the future. So I'm going to go ahead and pray and close this out. And then I will be doing a second live stream because this is from last week technically. But I've just had some things come up in life and it just hadn't worked out. So bear with me. Thank you for your graciousness to me. Dear Lord, thank you so much that you never give up on us. That you allow us to struggle, to face hard things, to have trials in our life. That you're not just concerned with keeping us happy. But God, you see the bigger picture. You see the impact. You see the testimony. You see the good that it's going to end up doing in my life. And I can't see that right now. I can't see that all the time. But yet, I understand that you see it. And I can trust that. I heard on the radio how, I think it was a song, how a lady was like, at the end, she couldn't do it anymore. It was too hard. And she ended up, basically making a memorial of how this was the deepest pit she felt like she had ever been in. And now looking back, she can see how you used it. And that was the absolute hardest thing she'd ever had to face in her life. And yet now she can look back and smile and be like, you knew all along. Help us to be willing to submit under that before the struggle stops. To take comfort in that and to recognize that you've got us in the palm of your hand. No matter how crazy the storm may be, no matter how much it may seem like your boat is sinking or that our boat might be sinking, that you have power even over the winds and the waves. And you see the end that we can't see. Thank you that you're not just concerned with our happiness, but for our deep, fulfilling well-being. Thank you that you care enough for us to allow us to face the hard things so that we can learn and learn and learn how to just rest in you instead of the end of the struggle being our hope. You are a good God. Thank you for never giving up on us. Thank you that we can trust you, even if we don't feel like it in the moment. Help us to recognize that no matter what we may face. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Thank you so much for joining. As always, I put the link in the description to the blog post by the same name. It's never a repeat. I probably talked completely different topic or, rabbit trails than I did in my blog. So if you're just needing more encouragement on this topic, go ahead and check out my blog and read that. I also have a resources and recommendations page on my website of things that I've created that are free downloads for you to print off, no strings attached, and also recommendations of things that have had an impact on my faith in my life. So I hope that they could be a blessing to you too. Please share. I love you guys. I hope you have a great rest of the week. Bye.